Welcome back. Well, yes, Audie is here with me, and I'm going to have to check him out later because when he walked over, he was limping a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's just a question of his little paw has fallen asleep or if he's actually done something to hurt himself. If he has, it's not too bad, whatever it is, but we're going to have to take a look and just make sure there's nothing seriously wrong with that little paw. And yes, he has actually limped around when one of his legs has fallen asleep, and he'll walk, he'll shake it a little, he'll walk, he'll shake it a little, but in between he limps. I know, cats are strange and different. Well, today I thought we would take a look at something a little different for us, and that's the realm of vintage costume jewelry. How to buy it on the cheap, specifically, what to look for, jewelry that maybe you hadn't thought of that you could use not just for resale, but to throw into your own jewelry collection for your own personal use. And we're going to talk about the kind of jewelry you want to look for if you want to buy something and maybe do a little work on it, enhance it a little, get a fixer-up piece, so to speak, that you could either sell for a profit or add to your own collection at a fraction of the value. So, costume jewelry when we come back. Today we're going to talk about costume jewelry. In particular, I want to start off with dress clips, simply because it's a type of rhinestone costume jewelry from the first half of the 20th century that you might not be familiar with. So we might as well get familiar with something new while we talk about something that has a much broader application, which is rhinestones. Now, these are dress clips, and here, we'll take this one off first. This is what this looks like. This has multicolored little rhinestones in it. It's costume jewelry. That's all it is. Yes, baby. Okay. Costume jewelry. It's not expensive. I paid a little over $26 for the pair. Got them on eBay, and that included taxes and shipping. The pieces themselves were 19 and change. So I got them simply because they're interesting late Art Deco pieces that I just personally liked. I didn't buy them for resale. I bought them because I wanted them. And that's one of the things that I want to make sure we're clear about as we go through this particular topic. We're not just talking about what you can buy at a deep discount price, do a little work on, and turn for a profit, but what you can throw into your own jewelry collection at a good price so that you can get a nice piece and you really don't have to pay full retail for it, so to speak. Now, a dress clip, the reason I took that one off and not this one is, see how that one is hooked in? Yes, it is hooked to this. This is a sports bra. And that was the point of a dress clip initially. Back in the 20s and 30s, women's formal dresses, ball gowns, evening dresses were made of flimsy fabric that tended to flow anywhere it wanted to and didn't do a very good job of staying on top of the bra straps and the slips and so on and so forth. So it became useful to have a clip that you could hook to your dress and to the bra, slip, whatever underneath it to hold it in place. hence dress clips. And then, of course, they took on a life of their own, and you weren't just wearing them on either side. You could wear two of them together, staggered. Let me show you. First, let's start with some dress clips as they were originally worn. And just in case you think maybe this is something Ava Gardner, took into the great beyond with her, no. Here are some dress clips being modeled by some modern young chickadees, so we're still trendy. Here we go. So dress clips are something that were popular in the 20s right through the 1950s. Well, it was late 20s, really. It wasn't early 20s, late 20s through the 1950s. By the 1960s, they had moved along. And now they are having a bit of a resurgence. And the reason that I wanted to show you these is because it's a type of costume jewelry that you might not be aware of. Dress clips ordinarily came in pairs. Sometimes they had a little apparatus, a little sort of a wire support behind them that would allow you to hook two dress clips in together and turn them into a larger brooch. Those dress clips are called duets, and it's D-U-E-T-T-E. Yeah, I think it's D-U-E. I don't think there's an O in it. I believe it's D-U-E-T-T-E. But they're called duet pieces. And they were popular even after they fell out of use as bra strap holders, basically. And they allowed you to use your little dress clips as a brooch and pin it anywhere. It didn't have to just hook over the edge of a fabric. Because of that little supporting piece that connected the two clips, that would have a pin in it. You could wear it at the collar. You could wear it, on your lapel just as a brooch. It gave people more versatility. So that's something I thought I would just show you, introduce you to if you haven't seen it before. If you have seen it, well then I want you to know they're coming back. Mine, I got that for $26 and change. That was including tax and shipping. Got it on eBay. And I'm going to set you down, okay? Yes, but you can come back. 26 and change on eBay. The going price for pieces like that are usually somewhat higher. I don't feel I got a fabulous deal on those pieces. I feel I got a pretty good deal because ordinarily when they have multicolored gemstones, and all the gemstones are present, and well, they're rhinestones really, they're pretend gemstones. When they're all present and they're multicolored, they usually go for more, and a nice set of dress clips of any sort is usually going to start at around $30. So yes, it's something of a deal, but not a knock your socks off deal. So what are the knock your socks off deals? Well, when you can find a set of little dress clips like this, that might be missing the rhinestones. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. You can go on eBay or go into thrift shops, junk stores, whatever. Grandma's tin box full of costume jewelry. Wherever you're going to find costume jewelry, grab those pieces and replace the rhinestones. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, yeah, where am I going to get vintage rhinestones? Well, you're not. you would replace the rhinestones with new modern rhinestones that you can get. You can get a handful of, like literally a handful where it's spilling on the floor out of your hand, from China for under $10. All kinds of colors, all kinds of sizes. So this is how you can get great deals for costume jewelry. If you like these splashy pieces with all the glitz and the rhinestones and so on, but you don't like the idea of paying $30 or $40 for a piece of rhinestone jewelry simply because you'd like a piece that has all the rhinestones in place and they're all sparkly and they're not dull, and because when you look at some of them, they get yellowish looking or gray, or that they can get pretty sad looking. It's so easy to replace them. Now, usually when I replace rhinestones in costume jewelry, I will replace, if not all of the rhinestones, then all of the type of rhinestones that are missing. For example, if I were to replace on a piece like this, let's say one of the red stones was missing, I would probably take out all of the red stones and replace all of the old red stones with new red stones. It depends on what it looks like. I would start off just replacing the one, but if I don't like the way it looks, I am not going to hesitate to pull everything apart and remake the whole piece, especially if it's going into my wardrobe, because I am not buying a piece like this for the little colored bits of glass. I'm buying it for the shape. This is an art. I'll get you a close-up picture of this so that you can actually see it. Let's see if I can move it over here. There. I think when I hold it up against the black, it's a little easier to see. It's a late Deco piece, not early Art Deco. This is probably late 1930s Art Deco moving into Art Moderne. I like the style. That's what I'm getting it for. I'm not getting it for every little bit of colored glass, because the rhinestones are of no intrinsic value. Any one of those rhinestones, it's not even worth the time it would take you to pop it out of the piece. So that's not where the value is. The value is the artistry of the piece as a whole. If you want a piece of vintage jewelry, especially these rhinestone pieces that can be terrific, and you found yourself a piece and it's got missing rhinestones, by all means, don't hesitate to pick it up. If you see this in a junk shop or a thrift store or an antique store, don't hesitate to see if they'll knock down the price because of those missing rhinestones. Most of the time they will. If you see it on eBay and rhinestones are missing, don't hesitate to go back to that seller and say, there are 4 rhinestones missing. I can see it in your photographs. You can usually get really good deals on these pieces. Now, rhinestone jewelry is coming back and has been. I would say it's probably been about 15 or 20 years. That stuff has been coming back gradually. It started coming back in the cities, in the urban areas. A lot of people, trendy young people. That's where it starts, just the artsy types bringing these grandma's jewelry back. Now it's becoming much more mainstream. Now you are seeing modern costume jewelry manufacturers recreating some of these older styles. And when I say recreating, I'm sure they are just taking old molds and just putting them right back into service again, because some of the things that I've seen on the market, and we're not talking junk here. There's junk jewelry, there's costume jewelry, there's fine jewelry, and costume jewelry can range from the junk right up to the fine jewelry. So the better pieces of costume jewelry, some of them, I look at that and think, wow, I know I saw that piece. That's something that was around in the 50s. Something like that. Boy, my grandmother, my great aunt, whatever, had that big hunkin' brooch on her big hunkin' chest. And, it's becoming a thing again. So if this is something you would like to do, fluff out your wardrobe a bit, which is especially great for two kinds of wardrobes. This sort of costume jewelry goes great with the more boho wardrobe. Those who just, it's like, I'm grabbing whatever I'm grabbing and I'm putting it together any way I want to put it together. Perfect. But also people who tend not to wear a lot of jewelry and tend to go for more plain clothing. Plain black blouse. Boy, you slap one of those big rhinestone pieces on it and you're making a statement. So it's coming back. And for those of us who hit a certain age, one of the things that dates us is very often our inability to glom on to the styles that are coming back and being brought back into fashion by younger people. And we look at that and say, well, I don't like that. My grandmother wore that. Now my granddaughter is wearing that. Now, come on. If your granddaughter's wearing it, give it a shot, because it's a quick and easy way not only to look younger, but to feel younger, to sort of participate in the new trends. But what I like about it is you can take some magnificent old pieces of costume jewelry and revitalize them. I'm not talking about remaking them, like turning them into something else. And that's what, like, Karen Hopper, our resident jewelry repurposer, does. That takes more talent than I have. But by golly, I can pop out a damaged rhinestone and glue a new one back in with the best of them. I can also take a piece of costume jewelry that has nothing but clear rhinestones which have become cloudy and dull and no longer attractive over time. I can pop those out and replace them reasonably artistically with color combinations that will give a whole new feel to an old piece. Would I hesitate to offer a piece like that for sale? No, of course not. I would mention that the stones had been replaced because I don't believe in deceiving people about something like that. If you are selling a vintage piece and not all of it is vintage, you certainly need to disclose that. But is there a market for this? You bet there is. So what I am looking at right now that I have the little pieces I want. Oh, and I did get these, by the way, for a particular piece of clothing that I have. So I have a purpose for this, which I very often do with my jewelry. I will very often buy something and say, I have this piece for that outfit, and I pack it away, and then that's the only outfit it ever sees the light of day with. That's probably not a very practical thing to do. But jewelry is very personal in terms of why we purchase it, what we wear it with. This is, it's hard for me to think of any, well, yes, okay, I can think of a few things that are more personal than jewelry, most of which would get my channel shut down if I started mentioning them. But jewelry is very, very personal. You buy it for the reasons that appeal to you. You buy what you like. You do what you want with it. But having said that, at the moment, I am looking through jewelry on eBay because, a lot of us, including me, are still not free to come and go as we please. Some places are open, not a lot are, and I'm still doing online shopping. Woe is me. But I know a lot of you are right in the mess with me. So, we're all sitting there looking at eBay, we're looking at Etsy, we're looking at Amazon and Overstock and everything else saying, I miss shopping. Right now, I'm trolling through eBay looking for interesting rhinestone pieces that I can get for good prices, that have good bones. In other words, the setting is nice, a nice shape, doesn't even have to be good condition, because I have no problem resurfacing a setting. Very often you will get costume jewelry that's been plated and the plating is wearing off. I don't have a problem repainting that, not at all. And in fact, if I can get something that does need to be repainted, that would be great, because then I can show you how to do that. But right now I'm focusing on pieces that are missing rhinestones or have rhinestones that are dull or gray or yellow or whatever these rhinestones are that make them unattractive, and looking to replace the rhinestones either with the same color, in other words, clear with clear, blue with blue, etc., or take a piece that had formerly been all clear rhinestones and then pick a few areas out with colors. Because one of the things I have noticed when I have been looking for rhinestone jewelry is the pieces that strike me are either the multicolored pieces, but you saw that. That's what I bought. I bought multicolored. Or as I'm going through the clear rhinestones over and over again, suddenly the one with 3 or 4 pink stones in the design, that's the one that's jumping out at me. So that's what I'm looking for right now. Some pieces of jewelry that I can start ripping apart and remaking. And I've done this many times before, and not just for human jewelry. I started doing it with doll jewelry because very often when you have an old doll, the doll will have some sort of accessory. The accessory gets damaged. You know, the little rhinestone and the little dolly watch or whatever has to be replaced. Sure. That's how I started. So I started with teensy weensy little itsy bitsy rhinestones or little itsy bitsy fake pearls and whatever. It's not as hard as you might think. And the advantage to starting off with little pieces like this is I learned the trick for dealing with tiny. It's fairly easy to deal with a piece like this, but when you start off dealing with something like this, boy, you sure learn how to get those little pieces in there right. So I thought that would be something that we could take a look at. In the meantime, I wanted to make sure you were aware of A, how to buy good costume jewelry, just costume jewelry that might need a little work. Feel free, because we're going to take a look at how to repair and replace those little rhinestones, how to repaint the settings. Can you turn a profit on pieces like this? Of course you can. Of course you can, especially if you can get them at thrift stores, junk shops, whatever. Very often you can get like big jars of junk jewelry for $5 or $10, and if you can pull out 2 or 3 salvageable pieces for that price, of course you can turn it for a profit. But again, we're not even really talking about that, because I know not all of you are resellers. I know a lot of you are just looking for little things for yourself. Just let's feather our own little nests. Jewelry is that for me. I do not sell jewelry. I've got nothing against it. If I came across pieces that were saleable, I probably would, but it's not the heart of what I do, and it's not even the liver or the spleen of what I do. It's sort of like the next door neighbor's rose bush of what I do. It's very removed. But would I have a problem with it? No, of course not. Is there money to be made doing it? Absolutely. And beyond that, there's a certain amount of satisfaction in taking a piece of jewelry out of the bottom of a jar and saying, I can bring that back to life. So that's something we are going to take a look at doing right now. For you, take a look at rhinestone jewelry. We're looking at dress clips. We're looking at brooches, pins, that sort of thing. Oh, and what you want to avoid are things like what they call scarf clips. Those do not have these little clips on the back. They have rings on the back. Scarf clips, the reason you're going to want to avoid them is, although they are by some standards vintage, because we've talked about this before, according to some standards, vintage is over 25 years old. But a lot of people's idea of vintage is 50 years old or older. Scarf clips are not going to go back beyond 50 years. Scarf clips are 70s, 80s, 90s, mostly 80s and 90s. Prior to that, you're going to want to look at dress clips or earrings. Now remember, this dress clip goes on like that. The earring would go on like this. Very often with the little clip or the screw back. Rhinestones, brooches. Take a look out there. See if you can find something that strikes your fancy and look at it with an open mind. If you look at it and you see stones missing, try to picture it with new stones. Try to picture it with different colored stones, because that is going to be one of our upcoming projects. And you might as well do it right along with me. And we'll go through it step by step. We're going to talk about how to do the painting, where to get the rhinestones, how to install them, how to finish off your piece when you're all done. Because, painting and gluing in the rhinestones, no, there are other steps beyond that, and we're going to talk about that too. All right, so we're getting close to the end of our time, and as I'm sure you know, I want to do word origins. I'm hoping that tomorrow I will be able to put the video on physical therapy together for you, because a lot of us have been cooped up for a long time. We haven't been out, we haven't been up, we haven't been moving around. Physical therapy could be very, very important to some, if maybe even many of us. So I'm hoping for that tomorrow. And Sunday, here's the heads up. On Sunday, grab your mending, grab a needle, grab some thread, because we are going to do survival sewing on Sunday. And this is the sewing with a needle and thread, the kind of sewing you need just to get through the day, to do quick and easy mends, because this is the start of our little sewing module, which is probably going to be an ongoing thing. But we're going to start at the very, very basics with some mending stitches. So if you do sew, follow along with us anyway. If you don't sew, I'm going to teach you a couple of mending stitches. Even if you don't ever want to learn to sew, it's always a good idea to know how to replace your own button. All right, let's take a look at what our friend Mr. Funk has to say. Now, we left off, we were doing clothing. Diaphanous. Diaphanous is a great word. One day I'll tell you the story of my Auntie Jean. She was interesting. When a girl wears a diaphanous dress, things are apt to show through. And that's just what the parent words in Greek meant. Dia, through, and theano, show. That is, the girl's dress is transparent, a word from the Latin that expresses the very same idea, trans, through, and parens, showing. That's why women wear slips. But not my Auntie Jean, who wore diaphanous gowns, hence the connection I made. Favor, usually a ribbon. Favors that are given at parties have a romantic history. In the Middle Ages, ladies watched the tournaments and encouraged the knights with soft looks and tokens. The tokens they gave were varied: a ribbon, a mantle, a glove, sometimes even a portion of a dress. Whoa, I wonder which portion. The knight wore this token, called a favor, including the dress, on his arm. The word favor is through French from Latin favio, to regard warmly or with goodwill. Now I'm still back on the knight wearing his lady's dress. Garter, wear the knee bends. The Countess of Salisbury once lost her garter while dancing with Edward III, or so claims the old story. With real 14th century gallantry, the king picked it up, fastened it upon his own leg, and spoke these immortal words: "Ani soit qui mal y pense," evil to him who thinks evil, which is the motto of the Order of the Garter. The word itself comes from the French gartier, which in turn derives from garret, the bend in the knee, so the garter is named from the limb on which it is worn. All right, how about one more? Gossamer. Goose summer. In the early days of England, there was a season starting in November that was called gossamer, from gos, goose, and summer, summer. It was so named because this was when the geese were plucked and eaten. At this time of the year, as with us in our Indian summer, silver cobwebs are apt to be floating in the calm air or are spun by small spiders in the grass. It is not too hard to see why gossamer was given as a name to any thin gauze-like fabric. Yes. All right. Have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow, and with any luck, physical therapy video tomorrow. See you then.